Recording in progress.
Hello. Oh, wow. It's booming. I'm going to steal this stool. I'll tell a story about this in a second. Um, good to be with you all. Sorry that I made it on time, Tahoe time. Uh, just a few things. I didn't get to hear all that Rebecca said, so hopefully I'm not reiterating anything that she said. But I did want to let everybody know that we're continuing our series of Igniting the Powers, and that will be coming up August 23rd after the service. So I invite you all to be a part of that. Each day is meant to be a practice, and our practice for this month is to take steps towards what our heart's desire is. And we preface that with that doesn't mean your heart's desire is for, people to be harmed or for you to have bags of cash or whatever that is. It's meant to be a step of faith. What is it in your faith that you want to step towards? So I invite you to be a part of that with us. A couple of things coming forward as we move towards the rest of this end of summer into fall. We are going to be starting a grief group, Growing in Grief. That will be a once a month gathering as well, and that will happen in September. We'll announce more dates and things like that as well. I also wanted to invite you all, if you're interested, we have once a month a gathering here that is the South Lake Tahoe Mutual Aid Group. Mutual aid is a collective practice to try to offer community to one another and give each other the things that we need without participating in a system that continues to not give us what we need. So some of the things that come up in that is that we have a Pay It Forward group where they've been working in the city to try to get restaurants to be a part of this Pay It Forward activity. So you can go to these restaurants and buy a meal for someone else, and they leave a ticket there. So if someone is in need and they need a meal, they can go to these restaurants and pick that up. I would like for Unity to be a part of that in some way. So we talked about this at the council meeting. So coming up here in the next few weeks or so, we'll announce our first Pay It Forward night where folks, we just invite you all to come and have dinner whenever you can, or have lunch whenever you can, or something like that. We'll figure out what the time is. And if you need a meal, you can get a meal for free. Or if you would like to pay it forward for someone else, you can do that as well. So if that's something that you'd like to be a part of, we'll tell you more about that as well. And just invite you if you feel like that might be a group that is of interest to you. It gathers here at Unity at the Lake once a month. There's normally flyers and things like that. So just let me know what you might be interested in. So, story time. A long time ago, in a former life, when I was a young man, I know some of you are like, you're still young. No, I'm not. I was a young man. I worked at a church in Nashville, and every once in a while, they allowed this young punk-looking kid speak ever so often, and I would sit on a stool. And at a more traditional church, sometimes sitting on a stool caused more concern than it really should have. But anyway, it did. And there was a man there who we had a great relationship. He was very kind to me and treated me very well. And his mother was sick. And she was one of those people that wasn't too keen on me sitting in a stool. And he went to visit her in the hospital. And she got on this rant with him about, like, why does Nathan sit on a stool? Why does he do that? So he made up a story instead of just telling her the truth like he just does it. He decided to tell her, well, he has these warts on his feet that are very painful. And so if he stands for a long time, it harms his feet and he is in pain. So he sits on a stool so he won't feel that pain. A few weeks later, he didn't tell me he told her this. A few weeks later, I'm speaking and I'm sitting on my stool, and then she's out of the hospital. She's at church. And she comes up to me and she's like, I just wanted to apologize to you. I was unaware of your condition. And I just kind of looked at her like, what condition? And then she proceeded to tell me. And the funny part is, this man's name is Doug, who reminds me a little bit of another Doug that we have here. A little mischievous at times. So anyway, she explains to me that Doug told her that I had this problem with my feet, and I was like, "Oh, did he now? That's interesting." So anyway, I don't sit on the stool for that. I am sitting on the stool just to tell you that story because I thought it was fun. So I wanted to start today by just giving thanks to this place and you people that are a part of Unity at the Lake. I know that it's had a long, storied history, and it has been at multiple locations. And I know you all, as Unity of the Lake, have been gathering here for years now, but it was not as, I would say, the thriving community always. Sometimes there was dips, sometimes there were struggles. And I know that there are people here that saw it through. And I'm just so grateful for all of you who continue to see it through. And I just welcome me to be a part of what we're doing together. So just thank you again for providing this space and place in this town. I know it's something that I've needed, and I've been looking for when I arrived here 2 years ago. And I hope that it continues to be a place that people find respite and renewal and beauty and wonder, and to tap into their faith in a unique and spiritual and open, welcoming space, because I know it's so needed in our community and in this world. So again, thank you for all of you for being a part of that. So as some of you know, I spend most of my days, afternoons, evenings, and sometimes late evenings at a place called Zephyr Point. And we, in the summer, hire about 30 young adults, college-age students, to be our camp counselors, and they spend time there as summer staff. And one of the things that I've noticed over the past couple of years with them is that for lots of them, this is their first time to Tahoe. Maybe they've spent no time out west at all. So when they get here, in the limited time they have, they want to maximize what they're doing here. So not only do we work them very hard, working with kids is a joy, but also can sometimes, you might need a battery reset every once in a while. And I don't know what it is. They have decided that because they're young, they can do it all. They can work really hard, eat nothing, rest little to no at all, and go out into the world and see and do everything they've never been able to do since they've been out here. They want to spend all their time, off time, not finding any kind of rest or finding any kind of peace or calm. They just want to soak up everything that they can do while they're out here. So they'll, on a Saturday night, they'll drive to San Francisco and then come back for work the next day. Or they'll, this weekend we have a large group of them there at Yosemite, which is great, and we encourage that. But they think they're going to go down there in one full day and see the Valley, Half Dome, El Cap. They're going to see Mariposa Groves. They're going to go see like all these things that we know it takes weeks and multiple trips to see just one thing in Yosemite, let alone to try to see all the things. And I have found as we head throughout the summer, their energy and their connection and how they treat one another begins to kind of find its way that becomes more of a struggle and becomes harder. And we see physical issues, and we see mental health issues, and we see people getting sick when they've never been sick before in their lives. And they wonder why. They wonder why it's like that. And, for us, we don't try to encourage them to just like run themselves ragged and treat them like a machine. We want them to enjoy their time and space and place, but also we know that a part of living life is slowing down and finding peace and finding rest and comfort. It's not always pushing ourselves to the max. It's interesting because within young people's culture right now, there is a term, I don't know if any of you have come across it, but it's called maxing. Has anybody come across this term before? Okay. So maxing, this idea kind of takes shape in lots of ways. Another term that I've come across more recently is this idea of mogging, which is coming from a very, I would say, not a place any of us want to be, which is this idea of becoming an alpha male. And you're making sure that you look the best, that you're the best at everything. And so maxing is that you're maximizing your looks and your health, and you're maximizing these things so you can dominate other people. So you can mog them, which is just an interesting way of experiencing life. And so for me, I was thinking about this in terms of our summer staff. Not that they're trying to looks max or trying to mog people or anything like that, but just so much of our lives, we fill it. We just fill it with so much. And I know last week I told you all I was going to talk about faith stuff. So here's some faith stuff for you. We are meant to flourish, but flourishing looks a lot like blooming. And with blooms, that doesn't just happen all at once. It takes time and maturation and seasons of life. We're not meant to be machines that just pump out and continue to show up in places and spaces. We're meant to rest. We're meant to find peace. We're meant to bring peace into the world. And when we ask so much of ourselves, sometimes we get to a place where we run into a wall, where we hit our limit, where maybe we've stretched our boundaries so much that we don't even know where they are anymore. We've learned to say yes to so many things versus understanding that sometimes we have to say no to say yes to the things that will give us this kind of world that God wants for us. This world that's full of love and joy, where we show up and we don't feel exhausted, or when we show up to Unity Lake and we're not just thinking about all the other things we have to do, or all the things that we've left undone. How do we just arrive here and be? It starts with those steps. It starts with thinking about our world not as a place to maximize, a place to just soak out every ounce of juice that's in it, but it's to learn to flourish by letting our spirit bloom. I don't know about you. I've heard that term before. I'm a late bloomer. What does that mean to you? I'm a late bloomer. Yeah, right? I finally found myself in some ways. It just took a long, long time. Yeah, there you go. But all of us are seeds in this world, planted here to bring light and joy and peace. And when we bloom, it's only for a season. That's the thing. You can't be, there's very rarely anything that's just bloomed all year round, right? Sometimes you have to go back into the ground. You know, you have to get your nutrients. You have to be, in peace and not just continue to live into a world that asks so much of us. Sometimes it's not about giving. Sometimes it's just about being. You are an unfathomable miracle that you're here in this time, in this moment. And that's enough. Even if you're not producing anything of what the world would say is of worth. You know what you produce? You're alive, you're here, you're breathing, you're beautiful, you're wonderful. Your creation, when we're co-creating together, that's an amazing place to be. We don't need to do more. And I know it feels like at times that's what we have to, more. and more and more. Sometimes it's just better to be. Just be. And we try to encourage that with our young people. And it reminds me of that Snickers commercial. All of us know it. You're not yourself when you're hungry. Well, you're not yourself when you're to your max, when you're to your limit. When you're so full up, you feel like you can barely get up in the morning. When you feel so exhausted, you need 12 naps. Naps are great. I have no problem with naps. But if the only reason you're napping is because you're exhausted, that is not what that's for. That's not what that's for. I encourage each of us to take a step towards what our hearts desire. And I hope that your desire for your heart is to be a person that flourishes, that you set your spirit to bloom. And if you need to take a step back from something to do that, let it go. Release it. I know in lots of settings, we get into a place where we feel like if we don't do it, it won't get done. Then it won't get done. It's okay for it to not be done. God is not looking for us to do everything all the time. Sometimes just being is enough. So if you're in that place, if you feel like you're leaving something and you're dropping a ball, for instance, just let it drop. The world's going to keep spinning, y'all. It is. It's going to keep spinning. And you know what? When you drop that ball, someone else is going to pick it up. The one thing that I have the hardest time when I think about the lives of young people is that they're living in a world that is uninhabitable for them. It's just, it doesn't work for the type of world that they're wanting to be in. They can't afford it. They can't find a job when they get out of school, so they hold 12 jobs. It's very hard to be young. It's hard to be older, too, but it's hard to be young. The other thing that's a complex situation, I think, for younger people is that the generation before them are asking them to save the world as well. We not only need you to live in it, but we need you to save it. Well, that's a very, very tall task. So I understand why they get so wrapped up in wanting to soak up as much as they can, because they're having a hard time seeing a future. I believe there's a future. I believe that together we can see it and make it and co-create it. But sometimes we have to understand the things that maybe we've contributed to that has caused the issues. And it's okay to own up to it. It's okay to know that we haven't always been the people that God has called us to be. But in that truth and that acceptance comes this warmth that though sometimes we're not at our best, at our peak, haven't been the light and love that we thought we were going to be, we're still loved. We're still one. We're still a part of God's dream. And we get to still be a part of that. So my prayer for us and the young people that I work with every single day is that it's okay sometimes for things to be undone. Give us time and space to bloom, because that's what we're here for, is to be beautiful creations for one another. But not because of the way we dress or the way we look, but because we're creations of God. So it is.